And we start a new series today of Let's Talk. And my guest is Chris Moser, who is an American public television producer and writer. So this is Let's Talk, and my guest today is Chris Moser, who is a public television producer and writer. So hello, Chris. How are you?
Good morning, George. How are you?
Doing good, doing good. It's 4 o'clock here. What time is it there?
It is 11:05 here in the Atlanta, Georgia area on an increasingly sweltering, typical Atlanta summer morning.
Brilliant. Okay. Well, what we normally try to do with the interviews that I do is it's basically to just allow people to tell us a little bit about themselves and who they are and the journey of life that they've actually had. And in your case, it's as a public television sort of producer and writer. So how did you get started? Tell us a little bit about how you got started.
Well, first of all, I got started in broadcasting in the summer between my freshman and sophomore years of college at University of Tennessee in Knoxville. I took a job as a DJ with a little radio station, and that led to a couple of more. And then I got my first part-time news job when I was a junior in college with AM Top 40 rock and roll station and there in Knoxville, and went on the next few years with similar jobs, and came to after college and graduate school, came to WSB Radio in Atlanta in 1975 as a news reporter and program host, and by then was realizing what I really wanted to do was public broadcasting. The system was in America was rather nascent at that time. And I had a theater background and a strong humanities and liberal arts background, and I saw that those in public television and radio, I could use those. I could use that background and those talents and skills and passions, and do much more interesting things. And so I kind of forced my way into the local public TV radio station, and in time, I was producing all sorts of programs in arts and humanities, including documentaries in history. And so I was full-time for 15 years, freelanced some after that. It became harder and harder to make a living doing that, and I had to take a couple of side roads, worked for CNN as a news writer for 4 years, from 2001 to 2005. I started the week after 9/11, so you can imagine what I was plunged into.
Yes.
And then I left there in 2005 and taught college for 10 years at community college, and then retired from that 3 years ago, and now have the time to return to something that I'd started back in the 90s, and that's trying to develop media projects that connect the U.S. with Northern Ireland. And so that's a summary of my road to how you and I hooked up.
And it's interesting because the pattern. I started in '84 after college teaching. In the television industry in the UK, and then in 2002 started teaching at a university, and then came back to work in Northern Ireland, and I finished a couple of years ago, although I'm back part-time. So there's a kind of parallel with our sort of backgrounds, working in television and sort of teaching people. So you mentioning that you were doing kind of history type programs for the public television. What kind of stories were you covering?
Well, I covered. I did a couple of series on Atlanta history. covering Atlanta history from the beginning, and then another series that dealt with the more modern history of Atlanta, working with prominent historians. And then there were individual programs that were historical or cultural. There was one on the Gullah tradition, Bessie Jones and the Sea Island Singers. And there was another series on the history of Southern literature that I produced with the novelist Terry Kay as host. And so it was quite a wide variety of historically oriented kind of short series and individual films. And then for Georgia Public Television in 2000 2001, I produced the best thing that I've ever done so far, and that was a documentary on a tragedy that happened not in Atlanta but to Atlanta back in 1962, when over 100 Atlantans on an arts tour of Europe died in a plane crash in Paris, Orly Airfield in Paris. And the effort to memorialize them led to the establishment of what is now the Woodruff Arts Center, the dominant arts center in the Southeast, I guess you'd say.
We have more on the way, so please subscribe to this channel and check out the link below if you'd consider becoming a patron to help us keep making more content. Thanks for watching.